Hey everybody, welcome back to Dentistry Unmasked. And Pam, like happy 50. Did you ever think somebody wishing you that would be like the greatest thing in the world?
Okay, can we get this clear? Okay,
Yeah.
no, it is not my 50th birthday
Hmm.
because that's what it sounded like. I'm not there yet. Close, but not there. It's our 50th episode.
I love it. It's so exciting. I can't believe it.
Oh my gosh. We talk about time flying. I can't believe it. Like we've been at this now for not quite a year. We're at our 50th episode and it's actually pretty awesome. Do you have people coming up to you at conferences talking about the podcast? I feel like it's happening more and more.
I do. I have them at conferences. I'm getting like so many messages now. I mean, it's really grown, right? And we went from like zero people following us to it's like what, 1,200 downloads a month or something crazy.
I know. I'm so excited. It's just such a nice thing. And thank you to those of you that have listened to us. At
Yes.
first, I was like, basically, it's like, I don't know, like me and David and like our closest friends listening to us. And now we have people that actually want to hear what we have to say and also want to hear from our amazing guests. We've had some really good ones so far.
We've had incredible guests and I I love them for so many reasons. First, they're top tier. They're top two percenters in whatever space they're in, whether they're a dentist or somebody on the industry side who's just doing like crazy cool things, and that integrity piece that they all bring, and they're willing to be open, honest, and share the good, the bad, and sometimes the very ugly is beyond impressive to me.
Same. I think it's been a ride and I'm really thrilled that it's growing because if it wasn't, guys, we would not be doing this. We wouldn't like it would just wouldn't continue. So I'm thrilled to be able to continue to do this. Now, we're here now in a middle of June
Yeah.
and I don't know about you. I get kind of nostalgic. I just had my 20-year dental school reunion about a month or so ago and you know, I feel like it was yesterday when I graduated from dental school. Like, do you feel the same way or do you feel like it's, far back in the rearview mirror?
No, I'm with you. I'm this year, I'm upcoming on 30 years, and I can still, in fact, I was just having a conversation with three other guys I was really close to this week. We were rehashing my friend Mike, on those practicals, and I guess today's sim lab, we just had like dungeon lab back in the day, and it was a cast gold inlay. And Mike is the like one of those like luckiest people in the whole world. And that day, his little inlay like flung across the room, and no one can find it. But of course, we all had made like two so we could finish them that day. And it was so cool because we assembly lined the polishing process. We all kept setting up hand pieces and handing to him. So we got it done. I mean, it's literally 2 days ago, we had this conversation as if it was yesterday.
It's amazing. I think back to different things in dental school, and I've just been hanging out with some dental school friends and reminiscing with them. And it does feel like yesterday. And it's so funny the crazy things that we did just to get through dental school or even after dental school. Do you want to hear a dumb story?
I do.
I think it was the day after my graduation. I was at the mall with my sister, and like people stop you in the middle of the mall for something that you don't need. So somebody stopped me for something, and I was like, all right, I'll play along. And I had to fill out this little form or something. And so I go to fill out the form, and I'm like, oh, I can't possibly fill out this form. And the guy's like, why not? I'm like, there's no doctor box. I need to check the doctor box. And he's just like, you're an idiot. And I'm like, so proud of myself because we finished dental school. And now I
Yeah.
feel like, yes, I use my doctor at work and obviously when I sign things, but now I don't need to have that recognition. But back then I was like, I just want to be called doctor.
Yeah, it was a rite of passage. Plus, I remember patients would walk in and be like, "You're not old enough to be a dentist." And I'm begging all of you, if you have a patient you want to pass this episode on, like just tell them to ask if we're old enough to be dentists still.
Yeah, it's so funny. I feel like, I think it's hard for young dentists too, because you go in, you try to establish yourself. Maybe you're a little nervous because you're now working for money and you are on a time crunch. It's not dental school anymore. And there's that expectation, yet patients look at you like you're a kid and you have to
Yeah.
prove yourself otherwise.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, I feel like finally I don't hear that anymore. And I think it's because my team is younger than me. I'm one of the older ones now in the office. And I feel like back when I bought my practice, I was by far the youngest one there. And they were just like, nah, you're a kid.
So what do you think was like one of the bigger mistakes you made as a young dentist? I mean, we have all these incredible guests who come in and they drop like incredible knowledge here and there. We're like, I don't know, what would you do differently?
Gosh, that's really a good question. I think that, and this is like not an easy thing to tell somebody to do, but you go in and I felt like I just wanted to almost blend so much that you almost disappear. You're just part of the office.
Yeah.
And you don't want to make waves. You don't want you just want to go in and see your patients and have them respect you and have the team like you and leave and do a good job. That was sort of what I always wanted to do. And I think that I didn't allow me to get my own identity as part of that,
Mm,
especially as an associate. So when I worked as an associate, I felt like, especially when I was working in a pros office as an associate, I just kind of wanted to do everything the way the other doctors did them. And even though I might have felt a little bit differently or something, I just sort of I didn't want patients to have something different or make it confusing or anything like that. And I feel like I really only I was forced to sort of find an identity in another office I was working in as I was the only prosthodontist. And so I had a lot of general dentists, even though they were dentists decades before I was, they would come to me for advice. So I felt like I had to sort of come up with answers that I maybe or maybe not felt prepared for. But then I feel like I finally found my identity when I owned my practice because finally I was like, look, man, I'm not everybody's cup of tea and I can live with that,
yeah,
but I need to be myself and have my team around me. But I think if I had done that earlier, I think dentistry, I would have found it more fun earlier.
I totally agree with that. I wish someone would have put their arm around me and said, you're not supposed to know all the answers. It's okay. You can come in and just say you don't know and then create a reasonable time frame to learn what you don't know and share that, whether it's with at that time an older team member, because everyone was older than us when we first came out, or a patient or the owner dentist, whoever that was. I felt like I didn't fake it till I make it because I never really bought into that, but I definitely felt so much pressure. I was just supposed to know all these things. And if I didn't have the right answer, somebody in the room was going to figure out I was a fake and a fraud and I didn't deserve to be there.
I agree. And I think also you don't always have to have the answer.
Yeah.
Now I feel like especially when you're dealing with a tooth with a crack in it or a really large restoration and you're not really, or you see the tooth and there's a big carious lesion and you're like, I now am very comfortable saying, I don't know what we're dealing with until we
Yeah.
get in there.
Yeah.
So it could be this, it could be that. Let's get in there and see where we are. Where I feel like I wanted to have the answer, I wanted to have a crystal ball that hopefully worked before we needed to do that. So I think owning that you don't have to always know all of the answers until you get in there also can work too.
I agree. I mean, I feel there comes a point where you start getting really comfortable in your own skin, and it's okay to just be 100% open and honest with everybody around you. And it just takes all the weight off your shoulders. And you know, the how a tooth or tissue or the patient presents is how they present, and our job is just to uncover it and follow the lead.
Let's talk about your first job. How did you
Ooh,
find it? And was it fulfilling? Were you like, I need to get out of there and just kind of make better choices down the road? How'd that work?
really badly. So my first job, picture this. I went to Buffalo's dental school and then I went and did a post grad program in Pittsburgh. And I was really excited because one of the part-time faculty members from Buffalo reached out and said, hey, I'm not sure what your plans are, but I'm looking for an associate. And I was like, whoa, what a huge honor. This person actually thought I was, I didn't kill anyone in dental school, so wasn't horrible. So I moved back to Buffalo. I go to this practice and I'm literally there like 3 weeks. And one of the business team members walks up with a pan and says, like, hey, David, can you tell me the patient's probing depths? I'm like, of course. What room are they in? They're like, they're not here. Right. That was my luck, Pam. That's totally my luck. I'm like, it's kind of a clinical thing. They're like, well, Dr. Such and such does it that way all the time. And like, when like your whole body just like sort of has this awful feeling and you're like, I am in the absolute wrong place and I have to get out of here as quickly as possible. So, I put in my couple weeks notice and never shared why I was leaving. Just, thanks for the opportunity. It was time to move on, and thought, well, I just picked up my whole life and I'm out of a job. I had to start all over again. How about you?
I think that's worth it. It's so funny. I feel like I had a couple of first jobs.
Yeah.
So when I finished residency, I tried to live in California. And so anybody from California realizes it's just a totally different animal. There are so many dentists and it's really hard to get started. So I worked in an office where he was a prosthodontist and he had me doing dental hygiene. And he was like, that's how you'll get to know patients. So I had one day of dentistry, one day of hygiene. And he was like, and I remember I delivered a denture and I was like, yes, finally, I'll make over my base. And he's like, no, 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 no. I do it on the average now. Like it's the average. So then obviously, if you're mixing your dental hygiene production in with your dental production, you'll never make over your base. So I was like, all right, I don't really love that. So that's not great.
Yeah.
And then I also split my week teaching, and I was working for a super prominent, well known prosthodontist who the learning was next level. I got to sit in on his CE courses, or if he shot a video, he'd be like, can you watch this and like look for something that, like, if something's off or if,
Very
like,
cool.
whatever. Awesome. But I think I worked there from like September to May, and I think I made under $300 because
Yeah.
patients don't want to see me. Why would like a celebrity come see me when they could see them?
Yeah.
So both of those experiences, and I think every experience is beneficial because then you can obviously move on with your life and make better choices down the road. There were pros to that tactic, but certainly there were cons. And one con was that I do think it affected my confidence.
Mm.
So when I moved back to Boston, I went back to the practice where I was a dental hygienist. So again, I was always kind of the junior kid, never actually looked at as a colleague. But I did love the office and I knew everybody, so it was comfortable and easy. But again, I never was really looked at as a dentist or as a leader in that
Yeah.
practice.
So we have an incredible range of people who follow the podcast. Some are brand new. They're young dentists. Some are still students, which is so, so cool. And then some more like us who've been doing this for a little while. With all of this, what advice would you give to somebody like us who's bringing a young dentist in?
Don't make it about yourself.
Oh,
I feel like I know it's our practice. We own it. It's like our blood, sweat, and tears. But the reality is, the pat on the back for us is that we've grown it enough to need a new pair of hands. And it's like getting a puppy. You can't expect a puppy to be a dog, so you've got to work with them and nurture them and give them a great experience because that sets the tone for their entire career. You don't want your office to be that one that they look back upon and like, hate. I just don't think it doesn't help anybody. There's no good that can come from that. So I think that when you're bringing on an associate, they need time, they need energy, they need you. And so I feel like if you can kind of take you and your feelings and like put them on the shelf, they're valid, but like the office and the associate doesn't need to be blamed for your feelings,
mm,
you know?
that's great perspective.
Right? I mean, what do you think?
I, I agree. Like I always looked at life backwards and said, what would I want people to say about me? So to your point, if you're a seasoned dentist and you either have an associate now or you're bringing someone or someone's on, like what stories do you want to be told about you? If that, whether that associate becomes a partner or they stay an associate and they stay, or they move on to something different in life. Maybe that was always the plan for both of you, but how do you want to be seen? How do you want to be viewed? And live that person as opposed to the stressed out person that maybe you are in the moment. Because I'm guessing, like we were just talking about our younger selves, like sometimes we don't have the answers as an owner. This is all brand new territory and we make mistakes, but it's okay. You don't tell your associate, like, you know what, I don't know everything. I'm going to make some mistakes with you, but let's have open conversation and just be two good people at the end of the day.
I think it's also more fun that way, and it's
Way
more
more fun.
enjoyable, more peaceful, and you don't realize the impact that you have on others. I remember going to my 10-year dental school reunion, and at that point, it's some of my students' 5-year dental school reunion. And I remember sort of walking through the class that was, 5 years behind me. I saw a few former students, saw one student that came up to me, former student. I felt like I had never seen her before in my life. I did not remember her. I did not recognize her. Even when I saw her name, I'm like, "Ah, no, I didn't really know." She sought me out to tell me how grateful she was to me and told me how when she packs cords, she always thinks of me. It was like all of these things. And I was like, what is wrong with me that I don't even remember this person that I've had such an impact on? So, again, like you're saying, all of your actions, the way you want to be remembered, you might not even realize that you're being remembered because you just don't even realize. So I
Yeah.
think that that would be great advice for somebody who's bringing on an associate or selling their practice.
Mm. I just had that conversation the other day with a dentist who was going to sell. And they were, what I loved about them is they were super worried. They're like, this is, I want to make sure my team's taken care of, my patients are taken care of, and I've got this like legacy thing. And, what do I do? I'm like, you're going to have, it's going to be really hard, but you're going to have to just let go, but don't lose this vibe that you have right now. Like you can still be that person and kind of lead from the shadows, let the young dentist take over, help them develop like their persona and where they want to bring this. And I found it, I don't know, like there's this balance between, experience that we have and this energy that brand new people have. And when we can put those two things together, we get so much more goodness than either one of them individually could have.
I think we can come at this and give this advice because we've seen the other side.
Yeah.
I know when I bought my practice, it was a terrible experience. Every
Okay.
step of the way was a fight.
All
Everything.
right.
She did not want to sell her practice. She needed to because she needed a surgery. She just like this was not a positive experience for her. And as a result, it became a horrible experience for me. And so I almost feel like when I sell my practice, people are going to have to drag me in there because I feel like
Mm.
the way it ended with my former owner, I was like, it was just not positive. And so I feel like, oh, when I sell the practice, like I finish signing, like if I forgot something, like I'll just be like, forget it. It's yours. I'm out. Like just unless you want me here, I'm done because I didn't appreciate how I was treated. And I just don't want that for somebody else. So I think that we take our experiences and we're like, okay, we don't want to pay that forward. We want to do kind of the complete opposite of that. So
Yeah.
hopefully that doesn't happen. And I certainly, I would have loved a great buying my practice experience. Like, so now I feel like if I ever buy another one, I need to gear up for another war. And I don't think it's necessary.
You know what? I think you are probably a very different person today, and you know what boundaries you are happy to set. And I bet it would either go your way or you just smile and say, like, it's okay. We just don't need to do this. That's a cool place to be.
Yeah, I think so. I feel like I had to, yeah, I don't know. It was just sort of like, I mean, it was like one of those things that it's just like the story wouldn't end until I finally was like, you know, do I have to call an attorney over this? And then finally it was like, go away. But I mean, yeah, no, I feel like looking back, I love my practice so much. I'm glad I dealt with all the things I had to deal with, but Like it just wasn't necessary. So I feel like we can make this transition for both of us more positive. And I think it can
Yeah.
be a great thing to do. But I think, we've had guests that help us understand what that looks like, plan for it properly, make the proper choice for you, for your family, for your practice, your patients, your team. And I don't know about you, but I don't know, I'm grateful for everybody that has joined us and spent the time with us and shared their knowledge, their expertise, their opinions, their jokes, like all the things.
I I'm not gonna lie, like I didn't think I was gonna learn as much, but I feel like every single episode we've had, whether it's been pure clinical or it's been business related, I can't think of one where I didn't learn at least two or three things. And I'm now turning around saying, hey, you need to learn this great thing from, Dr. Margis, or you need to learn, from Chad Duplantis, or from all these incredible, Ben, when we had like Ben Tooney on, and um, we started talking about all the different, like, I don't know. I don't want to forget anybody. There's just so many great people, but they've taught me so much. I guess you can teach an old dog new tricks. So that's a good thing.
Oh my gosh, I can't tell you how many times I'll see something on social, like somebody asking a question in a dental forum, and I'm just like, if you just listen to the podcast, you'd know. So,
Yeah.
so no, I feel like same as you. Like I'm learning so much. I feel inspired after we talk to some of the guests that we have. And I also, especially even some of the hygienists, I mean, I feel
Yeah.
like it inspires me to want to be a better person. And, if, there's even a question, which in my heart there is not, but if there's even a question about the value of what a dental hygienist brings to the practice, you see right here that the value, I mean, they're invaluable. And so
Yeah.
I think that, when I still actually go back and listen to Irene Yanku's framework for how she compensates her team. And
Yeah.
so it's just so cool and so interesting. And I don't know, same, learned so much.
You're right. Like, I feel like one of the biggest lessons I've learned is like we can unplug the emotion out of so many things when we have good people and we've developed great process. And now all of a sudden it's like this is the way we do it. And whether you're a dentist, hygienist, assistant, admin, like we're all on the same team when we have a way that we all agree to. And speaking of team, I think um, got to mention Andrew, who's totally helped us a ton with all of this. So thank you, Andrew. If you're listening, you better be
Thank you.
listening.
Thank you, Andrew. Maybe one day we'll be good enough for you to join us as a guest.
He's very famous. He's very podcast famous. So that's a high, lofty expectation. I don't know. And Rachel's doing an awesome job with all the little clips that are out there. So she's been amazing.
That is true. No, super grateful to everybody that has helped us put this together, help us with our marketing, help us with our social posts, our photos, videos, all the things. So, thank you. This, and
Yeah.
obviously to you and to our guests. I mean, it takes a village. It's not easy, and it's been awesome.
It has. Yeah. So, I mean, wrapping it up, I'm going to say, Pam, when people have come and asked me, like, do you want to do this podcast? Do you want to be with Dentistry IQ? And I'm like, I get to work more with Pam. They're like, yeah. I'm like, just sign me up. So thanks for being like one of the really great ones, in dentistry to look up to, and just like being like a North Star for so many people. You're a rare gem.
Oh my gosh, thank you. And the feeling is totally mutual. When I went to CDA, people are like, "Where's David?" I'm like, "I know, he's not here."
He's a
And
loser.
no, no, no. It's like the opposite. I'm like, I miss you at these conferences. I'm like, where's my brother from another mother? I don't know where he is. So no, the feeling is mutual. So no, couldn't do it
Well,
without you. Wouldn't do it without you.
right there with you. Cheers to the next 50 episodes.
Cheers.
Thank you, everyone, for watching or listening to the show this week. And thanks to our guests and sponsors on this episode.
Please check out our social media at Dr. Pamela_Maragliano and at Dental Economics Official.
Or you can check me out at Ignite DDS or at Dr. David Rice.
And go to dentaleconomics.com to receive dental economics. You can choose to receive DE in print or digitally, and you can also get the details of our Principles of Practice Management conference on our website.
If you have topics or guests or anything you'd like to talk about on the show, send us an email to dentistryunmaskedpodcast@gmail.com, and we will do our very best to make it happen. Thanks again, and we'll see you next week.